the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. AVWeek.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tom Albright. I am your host. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're listening to this fabulous podcast. You're watching live, you're streaming. Good afternoon on a Good Friday. With us to talk about all the things AV, first and foremost, CTS committee person, consultant with TCOM, and the editor-in-chief of all things AVNation, Josh Trago. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Tim?
Not too bad, not too bad. Also with us is a programmer extraordinary and also host of A State of Control, Mr. Steve Greenblatt with Control Concepts. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And last but not least, a good old friend that I've been trying to get on this very show remotely for freaking 10 years. His name is Josh Shanahan. He is from Sport View Tech, also Vice President of the Board of NSCA. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So let's kick this off. First and foremost, from Fortune magazine. It's always a good, when you can use Fortune as a story, it's always a good thing. Cisco is laying off 14,000 people. Holy shnikey. And here's the thing. That may sound like a lot until you understand the percentage. It's only 20% of their workforce. Again, holy cow. According to Fortune, they are doing this to shift from making hardware to becoming a software company. Fortune points out that this is not the only software and tech company to do this in the last couple of months. Also, Microsoft and HP have also announced job cuts this year. Strego, you are the closest person to this, so I'm going to start with you on talking about this. Geographically speaking, you're in San Francisco, just north of Silicon Valley. First of all, what does this mean to AV? The fact that Cisco, a predominant AV company now that they purchased Hamburg a number of years ago, and the fact that they released their first Avenue certified, their first Avenue product. It's not Avenue certified yet, but their first Avenue switch. What does this mean for AV? The fact that they're dropping 20% of their workforce and focusing more on software.
That the machines have taken over.
But that's the thing. They're not doing machines anymore.
Well, but that's the thing is because they've created them all, they need a less workforce because the machines are doing the work for them. But in seriousness, basically this is a pure recognition of the fact that with software development, and Cisco is taking the same methodologies a lot of people are. They're taking the acquisition model. They're finding other startup companies or smaller companies that are doing something that they want to produce, and they're acquiring those companies. So I think I'm really curious to see that as an independent entity, are these groups being treated as a subsidiary with their own name? Are they actually part of the Cisco family? So are they laying off people from all these acquisition companies, or are they laying off people from inside Cisco? I mean, the fact is, switches are reaching a point where, yeah, the chipsets are getting smaller and we're continuing to engineer new forms of backbone, but that's what Cisco's really known for. That's where a lot of their bread and butter has been. So from the AV perspective, I think it's less significant than it is from the IT perspective. It's a big demonstration of the fact that there is further and continued investment. It's the trend. It is a specific model of the trend that has been taking place of moving everything more towards a software-based solution, moving more things away from that because they've already got the backbone. They recognize that their codecs are losing in competition to the software-based, Skype for Business. They're losing, or Link, or whatever you want to call it, because people still use both. It's losing to Blue Jeans, it's losing to Zoom, they're losing these numbers. The numbers aren't nearly doing as well. And so they're trying to find better ways to offer their services. They also want to get into more of the analytics world, so that way they can start to control the data that's going over their networks. Look at the acquisitions that they've been making, and the article talks about some of them in terms of analytics companies and the ability to track that information. I talk about it continuously in my government's presentations, as well government policy presentations, as well as my security presentations. Of this is where people are heading. They want more information, and having the access to that information or controlling that information is where the money is. Information is the new currency. The more information that you have, the better off you're going to be, because you can dictate how things are going to be done from there, because you have hard data to back it up. And this is another example of a high-tech company doing it. Microsoft is doing other things, the similar things as well. They were mentioned in the article as laying people off. So this is just further evidence of a trend in the way things are moving forward in terms of the manufacturers and the providers of these technical solutions that the AV industry is just basically taking and then implementing.
It's kind of ironic.
You know,
Go ahead, Josh.
Struck a chord there. You know, if you really look historically speaking, look at IBM. I mean, they got out of the hardware business long ago. They've got their Watson engine, so their AI engine that they're trying to leverage out, and they're a data storage and analytics company now. So, I mean, these guys aren't necessarily ahead of the curve as it pertains to getting out of the hardware market, going to the cloud and the data analytics business.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the things is Schrago mentioned the fact that Microsoft is getting out of the hardware business, which is ironic, the fact that they started as a software company, right? They were going back, I guess, to their roots. Steve, something that Josh Schrago mentioned, the fact that this is a bigger IT problem than it is an AV problem. The fact that convergence has happened, and I'm going to make that statement as just a general statement, and you can disagree with that if you'd like. But the fact that convergence has happened, doesn't that still make it an AV problem?
Well, I mean, I think what I took out of this, and I think what is a good sign, and of course I speak from a software perspective, is that we're kind of seeing a similar shift where we're talking about going to services, we're talking about going more along the lines of solutions, and hardware is one component of it, and of course the hardware needs to be there, and we always want innovation, but what I would question is that how long is this going to last for them to be short this number of employees? Do they look to just refill those spots with different skill sets? And is that something that, so is this maybe something that's going to be short-lived, where they're going to be shifting their model and they're going to be hiring different types of talent to be able to provide these new solutions that they're looking for? But to answer your question, of course, we all depend on Cisco on some level, and everything that we do. I would think almost every project that we work on. So of course the hardware does need to be there to support what we're doing.
Let me see if I understand what you're saying, though. Is just because they're dropping these jobs, again, 20% of their workforce, you're saying it's very possible that it's a short-term drop, and that they're going to be hiring different people, possibly bringing that total employee count back up to equal, just different types of people?
That'd be a thought that I would have. I mean, I kind of looked at this as a pivot, not necessarily something that was a sign of poor earnings or poor economy or poor market, but more of a pivot in business.
Okay, no, very good, very interesting actually. All right, let's talk a little bit about InfoComm, the show. This will probably be the last story we do for this, but it was very interesting. It's from Digital Journal. They talk about their headline is the 5 surprisingly innovative AV products from InfoComm 2016. They talk about Key Digital, Atlona, TV One, Kramer, specifically Kramer Control, as well as AVNView. Whether you went to the show or whether you didn't attend the show, most likely you saw every press release, every video, all the stuff that we put out, that SCN put out, that Rave put out, that Commercial Integrator put out, that all these great media companies put out. I want to ask the question here from you three. What did these guys miss? And you can talk about whether it's Light Lonas or Key Digitals or whoever's. What did maybe they miss from this show that was, oh my gosh, so compelling or so moving forward? Josh Shanahan, I want to start off with you on this one. What, from your perspective, was the most innovative or one of the most innovative things you saw come out of the show?
Of course, I'm probably the worst person you could have asked him.
That's why I wanted to start with you, actually.
For the main reason being is that I don't think anything all that innovative was going to come out of it, and so I'm one of those people that's kind of said the value of the show is just not there for me to attend. In fact, we only sent a couple people from our technical staff, and the question was raised: what was innovative? What blew you away? And there really wasn't anything. It was a little bit more of the same. Analog going to IP, things along those lines. But I think one of the things that the manufacturers in AV are really missing is we see these trends developing more and more from the cloud perspective, is that a lot of our AV devices we're not able to control them using SNMP protocols. And maybe, Steve, you've got some comment to that extent as well. We'd like to see more of that.
Steve, from a control standpoint, is that what you're looking for?
Well, I think it's certainly a good way of making products more IT-centric.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what IT managers are definitely looking for, and there are a lot of products that have and were able to support SNMP for some time. It's I guess getting that information, getting the AV industry to understand the importance of that.
All right. Well, Steve, then from your perspective, what was if you thought that anything was innovative, what was innovative coming out of the show?
Well, what I got a lot out of is that everybody's trying to provide a platform. So the idea that you're going to buy one product from different manufacturers is probably going to be less of a trend, whereas you're going to buy a solution from a different manufacturer, and not only that, they're also going to be able to give you the ability to monitor your equipment, and they're going to and everybody seems to have a little bit of control here and there. So it seems to be that, and one of the things that I think was the big story, which we've touched on before, is the trend to make programming easier, so that projects can be done quicker, and there could be supposedly less complication, and we talked about this on A State of Control a little bit. The idea that certain types of projects warrant easier and quicker solutions, and hopefully that allows us to get more technology into more spaces.
So let me ask you this: is that a good thing? That, go back to your statement about buying everything and purchasing solutions from one company. Is that a good thing?
It depends who you ask.
I'm asking you. I have my own opinion about that.
Well, as somebody who makes a living making disparate pieces of equipment work together, I would like to have a mixed bag, because that's what we do, and that's what we've always done. But I can see the value to a customer to have a universal, one branded solution, so that they have one point that they go to for support, and they have also the confidence that everything's going to work together.
Okay. Mr.
They also have the cloud to manage their own devices and want to sell that direct to the end user too. That's part of the challenge.
Is that the ability to manage your prices and stuff?
Well, no. Manage their devices through their cloud.
Okay.
And further substantiates what Steve was saying. I mean, kind of the magician behind the curtain is what we do to program and make all these devices interoperate. But if you're just plugging manufacturers' devices in from their platform, it's going up to their cloud, and even in some cases self-configuring, and then they're managing it behind the scenes. The system integrator's relevance as they stand today becomes less and less.
Okay.
Most certainly Steve's does.
Well, no, and yours to a certain extent. how then? I guess say how then, but what do you do to not necessarily maintain relevance, but provide a benefit to your client? And that's for Josh or Steve, either one.
So one of the things that we've done differently is that we work on trying to build the components that add on to a system. So there still are areas where you can bring in external functionality, whether it's interfacing with a database or interfacing with an external piece of software for scheduling. So that realm has not become one manufacturer based. So you kind of have to look maybe bigger picture wise what you can do to integrate and to provide solutions. You may not have the programming the programming within a room may be more simplified, but the programming of an enterprise system can still require specialty skills.
All right, Mr. Shanahan, from your standpoint, how do you bring value if your clients, whether it's education or corporate, are getting all these simplistic all-in-one packages? I mean, how do you differentiate yourself?
You've got to be the experts at how that environment reacts in the standard IT environment. What are going to be the results of connecting to the networks? What sort of network configurations optimize audiovisual transmission and that kind of thing.
Very good. Mr. Strego, from your standpoint, I'll go back to the original question. Was there one or two things coming out of the show this year that kind of knocked your socks off?
Well, I heard there was this really, really good government policy course taught. I mean, rumor has it got a near perfect approval score from its attendees.
Wow. Both of them.
24, thank you. It as much as it wasn't a same old show, there was a lot of same old about it. There were some unique little nuances, and I mean, I talked about those during the AVWeek that took place at the show. But it was kind of interesting in the respect of one of the trends that I was watching for the last couple of years was the number of tech managers that would show up. And the tech manager population, I won't say that it kind of peaked, but I didn't see the presence as significantly as I have in the past, as kind of like a standout. So I would probably estimate that we still had a very large presence of tech managers and those kinds of people there. I know for a fact that some of my clients were there. But at the same time, we didn't necessarily see the differentiation between the year before, where there was a few of them and then a lot more of them and then a lot more of them. The growth in that market didn't seem as significant to me this year.
So you think we peaked maybe from a percentage standpoint?
I don't think we peaked. I think it was just along the lines of let's factor in one interesting part here. The show was earlier than it's been before.
Yeah.
Usually the show takes place, right before. We usually get back and it's Father's Day weekend, the following Sunday. This time it was a week ahead of that, and so I'm wondering if schools closing out might have restricted the participation from some tech managers from higher ed institutions. Just the way in the schedule of the show how that kind of played out as to whether or not that altered the populace. So I'd be very curious to see how that affected it. At the same time, technology-wise, you're seeing everyone trying to get into the control market. Kramer's investment in the control market this year was massive. QSC is moving itself into the control market.
Camera market.
Well, yeah, but I'm more. The thing is, a camera is a ubiquitous product that I can get from more than a dozen manufacturers. Yes, it integrates into their platform easier, but the fact that they're developing their own control platform and the fact that in talking to independent programming houses about potential projects, I've actually heard QSC pop up as a potential one that programming houses like Control Concepts are starting to look at investing time in learning. It's become something. It's becoming. They are achieving their goal of going after Crestron and saying, we can provide products. We're seeing further evolution in this industry of everybody trying to offer everything, and the top 5-6 companies are starting to shift a little bit. 4 years ago, QSC was not a top company. Now, QSC is on the lips of people as the top companies that they're looking at for products because of their unified platform, because they've incorporated video, because they're incorporating control. And this evolution is getting interesting because manufacturers, how manufacturers partner with consultants and how they're going to partner with integrators in terms of, well, if you want to support us, you have to support everything we do, because that was something that has been around for a while. And how they're going to move, are they going to move away from that? How accepting are they going to be, being as you may end up having to pick a side as to which unified platform you want to play in. So I'm going to be very interested to see how all of this plays out, and how that affects the way that the sales groups of these organizations treats people when the answer is no.
Well, and the other part of that is, and Josh, Shanahan, I'm going to bring you on this one, and just from a side note, remind me never to schedule 2 Joshes again.
You never call me Josh anyway.
I know, Shago. How does that impact, Shanahan, when you go into higher ed, or you go into an organization, a campus, let's say a corporate entity that has several campuses or several buildings? And this comes from a former tech manager, right? Because there were years where our budgets would ebb and flow. One year we would have X, and the next year we would have 20% less. And so we would go with solution A the first year, and the next year we didn't have quite as much money, but we still had to get the same amount of refresh, the same amount of rooms done. So we would have to go with something that was a little more economical, or something different, right? So as you're planning out and you're doing a forecasting, how does this all-in-one solution mindset for manufacturers change how you go to market with some of these companies that do have several year plans, but they maybe not have the entire budget in front of them? Do you still go with your top level, or do you maybe go middle of the road to make sure that you can get the entire runway?
I think a multi-year plan in tech is good luck, right?
Yeah.
What platform exists today, might be consumed by someone else tomorrow, and it's not going to be the same, So we try to avoid those situations as much as possible, and just choose the best platform given the economics at the current time that we feel has the best sustenance on the go forward. And it's you kick the can down the road if you can't subscribe to it all at one time. I think the biggest thing is to consider open architecture, so that you're not pigeonholed into any one solution. That also has its own set of challenges. So I don't know if there's any right answer there. If you don't have all the money at one time, you're taking a chance. You may be working for multiple platforms.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, guys. Last question here is as we get let you guys go for your weekend. Myerstown is talking with a bunch of different places. They recently helped do a number of different churches that have interesting, let's just say interesting architecture that always creates challenges for sound. And not to pick on the Catholics, love the Catholics, but a lot of times their older cathedrals are a lot of the times the more challenging audio instances. The reason I love having the 3 of you on today is because I'm going to ask one question to all 3 of you, and it's going to be different answers. How do you get into this market? The house of worship market has traditionally been very interesting, and for a lot of integrators, it's been hit and miss. And so, Shanahan, I'm going to start with you because you're the integrator, but also, Shrego, you're a consultant, and Steve, you're a service provider in providing programming. So, Mr. Shanahan, how do you get in to the house of worship market, or should you even get in to the house of worship market?
You always ask me the best questions, Tim. We've been challenged in the house of worship market because a lot of our clients are gaming customers, so it's that's not necessarily looked favorably upon in the religious marketplaces. But we have done several large house of worship jobs in the past, and really the beyond video, because video is now a very big part of what these congregations use and leverage every week, but it's really the acoustic knowledge that you have on staff. It's the sound quality, the intelligibility in these places, and we were fortunate enough, and we still have a semi-retired master acoustician on staff, and that when you're able to cite that in a sales presentation, it does go a long way. And I would say audio at this point in time in our industry still has a lot of mystery. It's an electromagnetic analog device that can sound many different ways given the acoustic environment that they're applied to. So it's really that knowledge, that expertise of the acoustic environment and how it's going to sound, and modeling that perhaps ahead of time using ease or whatever other tools you want to deploy.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fact that there are folks who do video rather well, but getting the black magic of acoustic right, especially in some of these places, is very difficult. Strego, how would you suggest either integration side or consultant side get into this market?
Work for a manufacturer that provides low-cost speakers for about 4.5 years.
Okay, I'm not asking what you did. I said how.
I can't tell you how many churches I've done having worked with TOA. I really can't. I don't want to make it sound negative, but house of worship, I believe, is the second most difficult market out there behind only residential.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because in residential, you're going into someone's home. That is where they live, and you're creating an environment and you're creating an experience inside their home. House of worship is the second behind that because they're dealing with limited funds often in terms of what they're getting from donations in order to provide for that. Additionally, you're dealing with an inevitable circumstance where someone comes in and is there in smaller houses of worship, and in particular, very often the Catholic Church environment. You're dealing with someone who comes in and says, well, I used to mix sound when I was a teenager. I know how all this stuff works. Okay, let's work together and find a solution for you. And you're dealing with a system that is always low on budget. And you're dealing with a system that is always high on demand. And it's a very, very difficult environment to negotiate across of those. At the same time, what you can achieve in those environments is sometimes amazing, and some of the unique solutions that you have to look to creates these really amazing experiences because you are now touching people individually based on something that is near and dear to them in their faith.
Yeah.
When I first did an integration job, and it was a very, very long time ago in a very, very small place that did a lot of very, very small local churches, one of the reasons they did it was because they saw it as a good opportunity and a relatively easy market to work with. But the way that they sold it, and I will never forget this, was my boss at the time basically said, the big pitch that we focus on is, well, don't you want to hear the Word of God?
Wow.
And that, it's a dangerous phrase to use, but at the same time, was the sales pitch.
It's a brilliant phrase to use. Are you kidding me?
Okay, depending on how you
know to that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. No, seriously.
Again,
religious or not, and this is somebody I've gone to church since I was probably 2 weeks old. So is somebody who in that space still go pretty regularly. I think it's a brilliant phrase to use.
Yeah, and that was his pitch of. And now, granted, then he would go and offer them a Bose Pro solution, so God knows what they were actually hearing. But
so he was asking the question, but not really providing the solution. Okay.
There's a reason I didn't stay there very long. And basically, what you're looking at in these environments is incorporation of a lot of this stuff. And basically, we are we are there to provide a service and a solution, and the video and the fact that, to be perfectly honest, I've been talking about this internally about a project that we just made a proposal on for a Catholic house of worship.
All right, Mr. Greenblatt, from your standpoint, and this may be completely unfair to you. Is this something that is even on your radar, Steve?
It was very.
So, excuse me. So for us, not the market that we target, but it's something that it requires, like any other type of specialty, knowledge about it, understanding who the users are, understanding what applications they need. Where control comes in most, I think, in houses of worship starts with lighting. So the way I would think to get in to that market is to follow the lighting. And I have actually in my career programmed lighting systems that have been in houses of worship. We have done a little bit of AV, but it isn't really the market that we go after. But you need to understand what they need. It's not a boardroom. It's not a conference room. It's not a home theater. It's and you have to understand what types of controls and how they plan on using it. And so I think that it is something that you can perfect, and it's something that can be a lucrative business if the opportunities are there to get the work, and that's where you see your skills best align. But it isn't something that we do regularly. If an opportunity came up and we felt comfortable with it, we would approach it. But it definitely you get good at it by experience. I mean, this is really what I would say.
Very good. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Mr. Shanahan, thank you, sir. I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, Jim.
How can people find you, find out more about you, or Sport Videotech or NSCA?
Yeah, go to gosvt.com or nsca.org, or just give me a ring.
All right, very good. Mr. Greenblatt, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
How can people get a hold of you or find out more about Control Concepts?
I'm on social media at Steve Greenblatt. Check me out on Snapchat. That's what I've been doing a lot lately. Just having a little bit of fun with it. And our website is controlconcepts.net. But I'll follow in your shoes. Check out A State of Control though. Don't worry about me. Check out A State of Control at AVNation.tv.
Yeah, he's got some cool stuff. He actually did an interview at AMX's ACE conference, so we'll have that shortly. Mr. Strego, how do people find you?
At jstrego.com. Excuse me, at jstrego on Twitter. Yeah, that's how tired I am right now. At jstrego on Twitter, LinkedIn. You can also email me at josh@avnation.tv, and I would really like you to email me because, as Mr. Netto announced today on Twitter, we are beginning the efforts for AV Month already. We're starting to look at our 31 and 31. This would be our third year doing it, I think.
This will be our third year.
Third year doing it, and the first year was the most entertaining because I decided to start it on October 2nd. And
explain to people real quickly what 31 and 31 is.
So 31 and 31 is October is AV month. It's when we're promoting the industry, making activities to reach out and expand beyond it. And 2 years ago, I had the bright idea on October 2nd, right after Red Band and AVNation sort of merged, to say, hey, why don't we do 31 posts in 31 days? And everyone was like, that's fantastic. Why don't we do it next year? And I went, well, let's try it this year and see what happens. And we ended up with, I think, 42 posts in 31 days between shows and blogs. And we're going to do it again this year. Last year it was another successful year. I think we ended up almost 60 in the month of October. And it's, these are the opportunity to share your story, to talk about the community, to talk about, how you got into it, or address an issue and write a short post, and you work with me or work with some of our other producers and figure out, we're giving you an opportunity to put your voice out there. So if it's something you're interested in, please email me at josh@avnation.tv. If you'd like to find me and hire me to do work for you, though, you can reach out to TCOM at tcom.com. And we are, a full-service, low-voltage consulting firm in the Bay Area, but we are now actually an international company with offices in Portland, Oakland, and the UK. and then we also have some reach down in the Texas market as well. So we've got, we're expanding constantly.
Very good. Also, if you don't follow me, but go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find this program, Steve's State of Control, Ed Tech, a whole lot of other stuff going on. We're doing a special right now on India, Infocom India. There's a good chance that we're going to be covering it, sending a couple folks over to Mumbai in September. Also, we're going to do right after Infocom India is CEDIA in Dallas, so we'll be sending some folks down there. So check out the website for that and a whole lot others. AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been AV Week.